God move through me. I love you all. I'm so glad you're here. I get to share this message with all of you. All right. So God says, there are always reasons to gather, whether we are warning or educating or bringing to you some personal messages that allow you to engage in the world in a different way. There are always reasons to gather. But today we wanted to gather because there is a lot of turbulence, not only on the precipice of this world, but also underlying this world. This world is a surface. Underlying this world causes disruption, causes eruption in places that are already on the verge of some kind of eruption. There are also conditions above this world that are calling down to the underpinnings of the world and saying it's time for eruption to occur. We sent an enormous thunderstorm, lightning, right here last night. It caused a migraine in Sondra, so profound she worried whether or not today was going to be possible. But we wanted to show her vividly what the condition of the upper atmosphere has on the lower atmosphere. You think a migraine is bad. Imagine when we start calling up all kinds of issues with humans to make them start stopping. So the stopping is really where we're going, because it's when things stop that you don't know what's happened. Because as things are going, and they're going in a predictable manner, every day you wake up, you begin your routine. At the end of your routine, you go to sleep, and then you wake up again, and you go through your routine, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up, and you go through your routine, and you go to sleep. And that routine is something that becomes not only predictable, but accessible, because you are learning how to manage in some routine. Even if there's been some change or eruption in your world, eventually, after a week of dealing with that eruption, you build a routine in the eruption. And that routine becomes fairly predictable because you're a learning organism. You learn and adapt based on the change in that routine. And some people who had no routine growing up, were in constant change, really have no comfort in routine and need to generate constant change in order to feel like they understand what's happening. Even if they don't like it, they at least understand what's happening, because the foundation of that happening becomes a higher surrender, not a lower surrender. The lower surrender is, I've got to get this done today. This is how I go about my day. But the higher surrender is one that says, God, I have no idea how I'm going to make it through this. I have no idea how my day is going to commence in this new change. I have no idea who I am in this new foundation or this new change, this new eruption. I have no idea where I fit in. And then in this new foundation of I don't know where I fit in, if you don't surrender to the higher order, then you cannot fit in. because it's in the lower surrender of this is what I've got to get done today, the obligations about your day, the adaptation and what you've learned. That lower surrender is the one that's dictating. And when it doesn't exist anymore, when it's been pulled asunder, then that higher condition must kick in. If it doesn't, there is nothing holding you. And when nothing is holding you, humans panic. And when that panic occurs, when you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, or you don't know what next week is going to bring, or you don't know what next year is going to bring, you cannot take steps that give you comfort. Comfort comes to the human mind when the human knows what the next step is. If the human mind can just manage next step, next step, next step, next step, next step, next step, instead of looking too far ahead and panicking on, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get there. But if the human mind can just focus on, this is what's next. This is what's next. It won't panic. It can't plan very well. It can't plan on the day, the week, the month, but it's at least focused on what's right in front of it. Now, the human mind is completely programmed. It's programmed by a day, by a year, by a life. So if you program your mind to perceive only what's right in front of you, you are adapting. That makes you much more adaptable. You're turning on a dime. You're accessing what's right in front of you, who's right in front of you. So let's talk about that for a second, about who's right in front of you. Because when we send people to other people, they don't know, the people who are coming don't know we're sending them, and the people who are receiving the person don't know we're sending someone. So if you're way out here in your way of thinking, a week out, a month out, or even a year out, and you're trying to plan that year in a New Year's resolution, you're trying to plan who you will be in this year that is somehow separate or different from who you were last year. If you assert yourself into that year-long plan, you will not notice when we send someone to your door to help you along the way, either as a contact and network, as a friend, as a love. You won't notice. Why? Because your attention is way over there on what you think you should be doing, or on what you think is your lot in life, or what you think is your purpose. What you think is your purpose can be such a distraction for what's right here in front of you. Next step, next step, next step, next step, next step, next step. If you think your purpose is some foundation of helping people, but you don't have any idea how to be the business operator that helps people, you're going to be focused on helping people rather than the tools of your operation, the connections and contacts and network of your operation, the condition of the tools that you need to educate yourself on, the new skills you need to learn. Sondra needed to learn the skills of marketing. And even though she loathes marketing because she's a bit of a private person and very shy and private artist, even though she loathes that, she knows that marketing means she can help more people. The more people who know what she does, the more people she can help. So she holds her nose and consumes the skills of marketing. And it means that when more people show up and more people are helped, not only does it improve her purpose, but it is a ripple effect on the purpose that others serve. So as she helps them, they help another. As they help another, those others that they help become a continuation of that ripple, more, 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 more. And it's a condition of paying it forward, but it's also nothing to do with paying it forward. It isn't I help you and you help someone else. It's exponential. So I help you, you help someone else, that person helps someone else as you're still helping another, and as that other is helping another, and then those others are helping others. And there becomes an evolution in the foundation of what people are doing as they are learning, as they are being helped. So let's say you suffer from panic attacks, and you have found that to soothe your panic attacks, you do breathing exercises or yogic breathing exercises. And then you teach someone how to do that yogic exercise. And they calm themselves down when they're in a panic. And when they calm themselves down, they're able to focus on what's next in their life. And then what's next in their life is in some condition of helping someone. So you, by learning how to calm your panic, have taught someone else to calm their panic, who has helped someone else to help other people. It becomes an exponential condition. And the only way to get there is to manage what's right in front of you, right in front of you, right in front of you. Because you can course correct, and we can send people who are ready for that message, who need that message, who from that message go on to help others who need the message. Another reason why the next step is a foundation of managing change and the unknown is that if you look into the abyss of the unknown, it automatically causes the mind to feel as if it is not connected to the body. Because the mind is previewing something that may or may not be the condition of the future. So let's say people are getting fired all around you, and you look into the abyss of the unknown of whether or not you'll be fired. Then you are telling the body, we're going to be fired too, whether you are or not. Your body is disconnecting from the mind to manage some sort of fight or flight condition. So the mind has to be reeled back into right now. How do we avoid getting fired like everyone else? How do I exert my value to my manager, my manager's manager, the company as a whole? How do I exert my value so I don't get fired? So your mind has to be there, not here, way out here in some unknown future. It has to be right here. How do I exert my value? Now, you could sit and talk to other people in the company who are either equally afraid or who have gotten fired. And you see their value, and you can't believe they got fired. If they got fired, well, I certainly have no true worth here. If their value and their worth is removed, I don't have any true value. That's not true. That's absolutely untrue. You don't know why they got fired. Maybe they are at the top of their pay scale. And at the top of their pay scale, the company needs to be a whole restructuring. And it has to have some investment. And in that investment, there has to be some loss of expense. So people at the top of their pay scale aren't going to be able to contribute to that new investment or the new retooling that the company needs to do. So if you look at your value in what you do, and in that way of what you do, you get real creative. And all these ideas you've had for what the company should be doing that you can do, you propose that to your manager or your manager's manager. And you make that proposal. And on that proposal, you're saving the company money, or your proposal is bringing the company more business or a different market, a different customer, or you are reducing the amount of effort and work that your position has to do in order to be available for other things. Because if people are getting fired, that means the people who are staying on are going to have to work twice as hard because there are fewer individuals to share the load. So if you can say, I know how to reduce the amount of work I do based on this one tool that is for sale in the marketplace. If we buy this one tool, I'll learn how to do it and use it, and I'll be able to reduce the amount of work I do by 20 hours a week. And that 20 hours a week can be spent on some other investment of time. So keeping your eye on where you are and not beyond is the first rule. And the next step, next step, next step, next step, next step. The first rule of managing change and the unknown. The second rule for managing change and the unknown is recognizing your value has nothing to do with what other people say or do. So change your mind. We're going to go into a right turn. Hang on, I'm waiting for God to bring me to that panoramic view. Oh, they're going to tell a story. Okay, here's a story. One moment, let me get a drink of water. Okay. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a giant oaf. And this giant oaf was a bubble in its exterior, so you could see right through it. But it had these little feet at the bottom. So it walked, but it didn't walk on surfaces. It walked through a substance, any substance, water, blood, anything liquid. It could walk through, and it was buoyant, this oaf. And an oaf is called an oaf because it loves mistakes. It consumes them, it reproduces them, it loves to hang out with them, it talks to them. Oof, 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 oof. All these oafs love to gather. And the more oafs there are in a gathering, the thicker that substance becomes and the slower it flows. In fact, at a certain point, the oaf can get so thick it doesn't flow at all. Water can't move, blood can't move, air can't move. So this oaf that we first start talking about, the first oaf, the one oaf, was all alone one day. And it looked around at how alone it was, and it realized that its loneliness was keeping it afraid. The oaf was standing still in fear. It didn't move with the flow, it just held in fear. And it just kept thinking to itself, oaf, 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 oaf. And here comes another oaf that could hear the call of that first oaf. It was oaf, 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 oaf. And the oafs were oafing at each other. Oof, 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 oof. And then those two oafs called another oaf to come over. Oof, 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 oof. And they were oafing and oafing and oafing and oafing until they gathered a whole crew of oafings. Oafing. As they oafed, they saw that at least they were no longer alone. They had no idea that in each other is the loss of each oaf's calm, because it mirrored the oaf in each one instead of mirroring some purpose the oaf serves. Now, you may be wondering, based on this story we've just told about the oafs, is what purpose could an oaf serve? Well, it serves the minimization of a mistake. It could be if the oaf is showed up in laughter, laughing at itself. Oaf! Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, for Christ's sake. Oaf! And if it were in joy, the oaf in joy is laughing at itself, at how silly it is. I know better than that. Oh, for crying out loud. I know better than that. I know better than that. Now, it may remain alone when you do that. The oaf stays alone. All the other oafs don't hear that call of the joyous oaf, because that oaf knows that it is part of a bigger picture of worth, value. Oafing isn't the only thing it can do. It's buoyant. It can flow. It can move and adapt anywhere because it flows with whatever it's walking through. And what it's looking for are mistakes it can correct, adapt to, and it learns. So the oaf is filling up with what it's learning, how it learns and adapts. If it's filling up with a bunch of other oafs in a negative, panicked way, it's going to look at all of the mistakes that it ever made to indicate where it is, what it's doing, and its purpose. Oh, 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 oh. See how that causes a panic attack? How the oaf, when the oaf doesn't make fun of itself and remember what great value it is, and remember how much more it is and why it's there to learn and adapt, to bring the bigger picture of its adaptation into the movement of the flow. Oh, we've been there. Don't want to go there again. Oh, look at over there. That. Nope. There. Oh, there. And it remembers over there. 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 Look there. And every there is just right here. There. there, there. And the image that's on that is self, self-image. The self-image must be adaptable, not based on oof, 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 but oh, I can do that. I'm good at that. I can do that. Oh, yeah. And when it runs into a mistake, it's like, oh, it's a new a new oaf. So that's number 2 when dealing with the unknown and change. The O or the oaf is not there to consume mistakes, yours or others. It's not there to consume the panic and worry. It's there to learn about the self and what the self can do. And in that self, that the self can do, it feels purposeful. What can I do that is of myself? Oh, I can do that. I'm good at that. People like it when I do that. I'm proud of me when I do that. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's a good way of seeing the condition of the self that changes through the perception of what's going on in the world. Now, let's talk about that for 1 second. What's going on in the world? You see a lot of crime. You see a lot of panic. Everything costs more money, and everything seems to be harder to come by. That's the condition of the world, but it doesn't have to be the condition of the self. The oaf, when it focuses on the world, that's exactly what it starts to panic on, the condition of the world. Because those oafs are written in everything the world does that is annoying the self and frightening the self. Those are all oafs, other people's oafs, not your oaf. The only oaf you have any control over is your own. Oh, if you look at the news every day, your mind is oafing all day. So minimize how much news you consume. And if you consume news at all, make sure it's based in fact. Now, we're not talking about fake news, we're talking about facts. In journalism, it's critical for the reporter to come up with more than one point of view for what they would consider a full article based in fact. You've got a point of view here, a point of view here, and then you've got someone who would disagree with that point of view. And the reader assumes then if these people say this, but this person disagrees, then there is suspect. It's suspect that these two people who say this uh, are telling the truth. It's suspect. But the truth is that reporter may have been looking for a long time to find the contrary point of view, to find someone who will give a contrary point of view. So the majority may have this point of view, and a tiny, tiny minority has this point of view, but you won't know that in the news. You can't tell that in the news because journalism insists on finding a contrary point of view in order for an article to be in full fact-based certainty. So points of view in the news are skewed, not facts. They are skewed to some position that is either the bias of the reporter or the bias of the media outlet or simply the bias of the world at the time. The world may have a majority point of view that's just wrong, not based in fact at all. And only time will tell how wrong it is. 2020 vision, hindsight is 2020, right? Well, that's because everything that was a point of view prior to that hindsight was wrong. So finding the truth is an indication of what? All right, let's see how everybody is listening. The truth is an indication of what? So in the chat, if you wouldn't mind giving your idea of what the truth is an indication of. Truth is an indication. Perception. Joe says perception. Our feelings. Kate says our feelings. Truth is an indication. Gerda says anything that is lasting, not depending on time and space. Right. Right. The truth is an indication of timeless orientation, how you are oriented. So if you are oriented in a way that is untrue and you don't know it, and you keep working in that untrue orientation, then eventually you'll be so off course that when the unknown shows up or when change shows up, you are unprepared, unable. So, how do you know when you are in a true? You don't always know you're in a true. The true requests you suspend your disbelief or your belief until the time is right that it proves itself so. So you might have to do things that just shore up or bolster your unsureness. Unsureness can be bolstered by facts. It can be bolstered by allegiance, what you what you ally to. So if you ally to um, y- your faith that you are protected, your faith that protection is here, closer to the core instead of out there, closer to the unknown, but it's here. Or the truth can also be bolstered by just making sure you're doing everything that is necessary to stay safe. Sondra used to have nightmares when she would leave the front door unlocked because she was absent-minded. And in her absent-mindedness, she would forget to lock the door, the front door. And she would have nightmares about someone coming in. Now, sometimes danger was nearby, and her perception of that danger nearby was causing that nightmare because her unconscious mind knew the front door was unlocked. But this was a time in her life when not only did she not know us, she didn't know her intuitiveness. She didn't know her prophetic dreaming capacity. So all she knew is that her unconscious mind was telling her she is unsafe when she leaves the front door unlocked. What does your unconscious tell you? Now, we told our clients we told Sondra's friends, we told anyone who would ask that during the pandemic, if you want to make sure you don't die, we recommend the vaccine. The vaccine killed a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of those who took it. However, more than a fraction of a fraction of a fraction died from exposure to the virus. So no matter what you argue or believe, if you look at the history of infectious disease and how many times we wiped out populations, meaning those of us who dwell upon the upper atmosphere, who affect the underworld or lower atmosphere, and we affect it on purpose to infect it when it is overly infectious to nature, to the realm of God. We affect what erupts in the world. So we're going to know pretty clearly what would keep you safe. Vaccines are the closest thing to helping the body heal itself from something that would kill it than any of today's modern medicine. Now, that is not the only thing that would keep an organism safe from an infectious organism, but modern science hasn't discovered the nature of the viral weapon. It thinks of viral infection as um, the reproduction of the virus. It doesn't think of it as a weapon. So it doesn't attack it like a weapon or a defense, except through vaccines. Its vaccines are at their best educating the body on how to solve its own dilemma. So we're going to take that idea, the body solving its own dilemma. Think about that for a minute. I'm just going to let that soak in for a second. The body solving its own dilemma. Now, from a wide view, from a wide perspective, type in what you think, how the body solves its own dilemmas. How does it do it? What are the mechanisms of it? Mechanism of how the body. Mary says fighting back. Oh, love. No, Kate. Love is not always the answer. Believes it has the ability. Gary, Mitra says believes it has the ability, and Gary says relaxing, reflexing. Is that what you mean, Gary? Relaxing, relaxing. How does the body solve its own dilemma? This is Sondra saying, I had it just a second and then I forgot it. Okay, what was Gerda says, get in touch with out of the box something, a thought, like getting out of the problem and looking at it from, like getting out of the problem and looking at it from a non-problem state. Okay, yep. And Joe says surrender. How does the body solve its own dilemma? I forgot what I said in my head. God says, you're all working in the mental condition, but the body is its own organism, even without a mind. So how is the body solving its own dilemma? The body has its own mechanism of protection. De-Essence says the body has its own mechanism of protection. In a way, that's not the answer we're looking for, but in a way. So kind of keep on that same train of thought. What is the mechanism? How does the body solve its own dilemma? I got the answer. Being guided to its God essential. No, no, Mitra, uh, talk to it? No. So the body is its own closed system. It's its own organism. If you put it on a life support and you cause the body to breathe or pump or the blood pumping, um, even with the brain dead, the body is still alive. Cells in the body talk to each other and support each other. You're getting there. What are they saying to each other? What are they saying to each other in order for the body to um, solve its own dilemma? What's their motivation to start talking to each other? No, Gary, not surrender. Find their new space. No. I'm whole and healthy. No, we're not talking about the mind nor the psychology. Staying healthy. We're getting closer. Suzanne says, staying healthy. We're getting closer. They say, what is the solution? No. So the answer is the body solves its own dilemma because of its urge to live. Its urge to live motivates the body to solve the problem because it indicates anything that is a problem to the body could mean death of the body. So if you, from a mental perspective, trigger a panic attack and the heart is palpitating at a very high rate because it's doing that because you're not breathing and it needs oxygen. So if you have stopped breathing to hear the criticism that's going on in the mind, and the oof, 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 all that oafing, it shuts off the breath. Can't breathe. It's sucked all the air out of the room. Tension sucks all the air out of the room. You ever walked into a room where you can feel the tension? It's because nobody's breathing. Everyone has stopped breathing. So the heart starts pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping, trying to get oxygen into the bloodstream. It wants to live, but it's compensating for a lack of attention on life, on being alive. I am alive. I am worthy of life, of living. So any number of things that are already programmed into the psychology of an individual, if that psychology is programmed with some form of loss of life, or a loss of protection, loss of um, mommy or daddy, usually all panic is related to fear of loss of mommy and daddy because they provide your life support. They feed you. They make sure you stay alive, mommy and daddy. So anything that is associated with the loss of mommy and daddy is programmed into the mind, even though you're old enough to survive on your own now. You're old enough to feed yourself, to go out and get food, to make a living, to get your food. Even though all that is still intact, the psychology associated with the loss or fear of loss of mommy and daddy is going to be an elevated form of self-denial. how you deny the self. You deny it breath, you deny it food, sleep, love, affection. Trauma is a condition that is already set in stone in the body as potential loss of life. It is the oaf experiencing so that's why it so easily builds up others when it sees some reflection of that on itself, such as loss of a job, loss of livelihood, loss of friends, um, loss of a relationship, no relationship. That's all associated with um, a loss of life from childhood trauma. So, how do you then calm that self down so that it isn't calling in all those mistakes that you think were the cause of that loss of mommy and daddy in some way? Because that's what children do. Children are the center of their universe. They are their own center of the universe. It's not until you start getting into your mid-20s that you realize you're not the center of the universe, that others have centers of their own universe that you would do well to participate in. But, children in the center of their own universe will blame themselves for whatever trauma or drama they experience in childhood. And then that becomes written in the body. The body knows where it's written, where it wrote it. Yeah, meditate and calm yourself down. That's certainly how to calm the body down. But there is another thing that is associated with calming the body down that doesn't require the mind to be aware of its physical condition of panic. What else can underlie that calming? Breathing. That's right. That's all it is. Breath of life is the condition of keeping the body alive in a way that the mind never has to oof, 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 and look for other oof, oof, oofs. It just keeps breathing. And how do you know when you've stopped breathing? How do you know when you've stopped breathing? I just thought in my mind, when the heart starts racing, and God just said no. How do you know you've stopped breathing? Okay, I got the right answer in my mind. Mary says, when the heart stops. Yeah, right. No, that's not the right answer, but yeah, that's the heart attack. Yeah. Oops, I wasn't breathing. You can't feel the body. No. I mean, certainly these are long after you've stopped breathing. This is what happens. Certainly heart attack and numbness in the body. How do you know you've stopped breathing is a little more simple and closer to home. Fear. In a way, that's certainly what usually causes you to stop breathing. Fear will cause that. But how do you know when you have stopped breathing? Because being in fear isn't the only way. Body panics, certainly. Certainly, that is a way of knowing. It's not what we're after, though. You said feeling numbness. Yep, yep. You're dead. Yep, yep. That would be a clue. And um, do you pronounce your name Gertie or Goody or Gerda? I know that's a German name, isn't it? Goody, 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 Goody. Of course, that's how you pronounce it. I remember you now. Yep, yep. Goody, Goody, Goody. What a great name. God is good, Goody. All right. So the answer of how you know when you have stopped breathing is when you are out of the moment, when you are out of the now. It doesn't matter if you stay out of the now long enough that you go into a panic. You could return before your body ever goes into a state of panic just by returning to what's right in front of you, right where you are. So, our thing of, in a way, it is out of the body. De-essence, absolutely. You leave the body when you are outside of the moment, outside of the now. We have given Sondra a number of reminders because she is as guilty as anyone else of leaving her body to go to some sort of intellectual pursuit. And in that intellectual pursuit, she's trying to prepare herself for what could go wrong because she's experienced a lot of childhood abandonment where she had to take care of herself at a very young age. So her mind always goes to that intellectual concept. Okay, and so what do I got to do? What do I got to do? How am I going to survive? How am I going to survive? What do I got to do? What do I got to do? And that out of body state is the mind listening to itself, preparing for the end of its days or avoiding the end of its days. So, what we'll say to her is, where is now? Where is today? But what's today? Because she'll also project on all these things that she wants to do to bring more people to the work. All these things that would be a great way for people to gather and everybody to enjoy the work we do. And we say, but what is today? And she goes right back to what she's working on right then. Because she'll get overwhelmed at all the things that would have to happen in order for that plan to come about. But if I do that, then that means I have to get this done and this done and this done and this done. And then she gets tired and wants to take a nap. So instead, we say, but what's today? What's right now? What's in this moment? What are we working on right now? And if you maintain the moment of now, you will keep that oaf in good temper, good mood. Because joy lives in tiny little moments. And if joy lives in tiny little moments and you want to give to a moment joy, and it takes just a small amount to give to that day a joy, and you stay in that moment, by the end of your day, you sleep well because you're not obsessed with all of the things you either didn't get done or want to get done. Today, I didn't get anything done. I should have gotten this done and this done. I should have gotten that done today. I want to get it done by Friday. If I don't get it done by Friday, I don't know what I'm going to do. It just shows how lazy I am, how much I procrastinate. I procrastinate too long. Usually, people procrastinate because they're trying to solve a problem. They need to solve a certain problem in order to know what's next. And if they can't solve that problem, they just don't know what's next. So, if you are in a state of procrastination or you're blaming yourself for procrastinating all day, focus on the problem you're trying to solve. By staying in the moment, and some people meditate on the problem, some people journal the problem, some people can just as easily go out to YouTube and type in a video, how do I do this? How do I do that? How to, how to, how to. The joy of Google is that it's right at your fingertips. You don't even have to go to a library like they did at another time in this century. Or you don't have to walk down to your neighbor's house to find out how your neighbor did it. It's all at the palm of your hands. So if you're procrastinating, you're stuck on a problem you aren't sure how to fix. And staying in the moment of that problem means you don't try to do anything else until it is solved. And maybe you can't solve it in a day. Maybe your day is made up of research. Give it that day. And joy will be at the end of that day because you know tomorrow you know how to do it. And you got the plan all planned out because you either did the research or you went into meditation and God gave you a clue or the angels gave you a clue, or you journaled it because you wanted to really map out what the problem was and what was the condition of those problems. So number 2 is all about staying in the moment and maintaining that moment throughout the day. Number 3, the last and final condition, we're sorry how long this is taking, but we promise this third one isn't as long. And we, for those who want to stay on, we will welcome a few questions, but not too many. So the third thing in how to manage change in the unknown is all about restructure. Restructure. When we started out, we talked about how routine is adaptable, or it is your adaptation. You have adapted to whatever condition you are in by giving it a routine. This is how I manage this. I get up, I do these things, and this thing is done. This thing is done. This thing that's here, and it shows up every day, whether that's work or kids or gardening. It is there every day, and you've adapted to that routine. So restructuring then, when, let's say that's just completely taken away. And let's just say it's not out of a negative thing. It's out of a positive thing. Let's say you're given a promotion and a whole new set of problems or a whole new set of people, a whole new team you're working with. And they don't know you from anybody else. And they don't know why you got that job. Like, what'd you do to get that promotion? How did you get that? Let's say they don't trust you. And let's say that not only do they not trust you, they wanted that job. So there's animosity on top of mistrust. There's no way you could be as good as I could have been in that job. Let's say that's at the back of their mind every time you talk to them, and you can see it in their eyes, but you don't know what you see. You just know that what you see is not warm, welcoming, and glad you're there. You just see something that makes you wary about them, mistrustful about them. You've got to restructure your routine in a way that would embody the whole change or the whole new you that you have to become. Now, if you just march right into that situation with a whole lot of puffed up pride and false self-confidence, because you don't want anybody to think that if they saw even for a moment that you worried about your capability to do it, oh my gosh, they would tear you limb from limb. They wouldn't think you deserved that promotion. They wouldn't think that you deserved to be there. In fact, they don't want you there. So you got to walk in with a lot of false pride and self-confidence that you're bolstering yourself with. That's not the best way to restructure because you're coming in a very rigid manner. False self-confidence out of fear that anyone sees you as vulnerable will cause all those who are interested in you to no longer be interested in you because you're closed off and you don't care about them. So restructuring is always about questions, asking questions. And sometimes these are questions that are unanswerable. They're rhetorical, in other words. They're just, a rhetorical question is a question like, well, how am I going to get this done? That's a good rhetorical question because it will give you a whole list of to-dos. How am I going to get this done? How am I going to make sure my new team sees me as a leader? One, look for the leader in them. Or one, look for the condition in the world that you have to solve, that rhetorical question, the condition in the world that reflects that question. So, uh, how am I going to completely redo my living room? How am I going to make it look more comfortable? So you look for some reflection of that comfort. That's easy to solve, right? You just go through design magazines or websites and blogs, and you look for very comfortable looking living rooms. And then you reflect that in some way. In a rhetorical question, how do I get this team to see me as a leader? You're looking for that reflection. So you're looking for the leader in them. And you ask them, what is it about you think is a good leader? Like how do you see yourself as a leader? Where do you lead? Do you lead yourself, or do you think you're capable of leading others? And if so, how do you do that? What do you see in a leader that you admire? Is another question you would ask them. What do you see in a leader that you admire that you would like to be more like? And the more investment you make on that reflection that's going to come to you based on the rhetorical question you ask, the reflection that comes to you makes this adaptable being that you are, the organism that is programmable. It makes that adaptable being that you are become more confident in what it can produce because it's going to mirror that. It's just automatically going to mirror that. That's how it works. Just like the oaf, looking at other oafs oafing is creating more oafing, the opposite is true. The O that's creating more O's, that looks back at that, is inspiring. It's God-giving because it's reflecting a higher condition. That higher condition that is affecting the under condition. And it creates a whole nother world right there between the two of those stimulating conditions. The up and the down make a middle. So the more you educate the upper atmosphere, God, I really got a problem right now. Um, I'm working with people I don't really like. And I'm not really sure why I don't like them. They just give me a really bad feeling. I don't feel like I fit in with them. God's listening as you call up to that condition. You go into prayer and a meditation, and then suddenly you find yourself watching a movie. And the movie you're watching is exactly the answer you needed. And you may not even associate it with a message that came from God because you've long gone past that question. Maybe it happened 2 or 3 days after your prayer. This is where you live, is right in the middle of that. Right in the middle of the underworld and the upper world. And that's also where you are protected, in that middle, provided this is present. And the only way it stays present is you hold its attention there. And you make sure that whatever's affecting you here is being given up to the upper, so that you're also listening at the same time it's affecting. And if you are listening at the same time that it's affecting, then your movement through life is being generated based on immediate course correction. God, I don't know what to do about this. I don't know where I should go. And then within a day, you've got that direction. God, thank you so much for giving me that information and sending that person to me or that movie to me so that I could understand that. So now I've got this situation coming up. Where do you think, or how do you think I should approach that? And then another course correction occurs. And another course correction occurs. And another course correction occurs every time you invest in the upper while affected by the lower. So let's take questions, because we've given you a lot to chew on. And if you still have a question in your mind about how to deal with change in the unknown, why don't you throw something in the chat and let's see what we can do. Thank you, God, by the way. Okay. The Essence says, I do astral sometimes. Is that the same as the Essence? Will you put in there the same as what? Because I forgot when you put that in, that question in. What I am getting is now, just in the now. Now is all it is. Now is all it is. The Essence says, what I'm getting is now. Just be in the now. Now is all that is. That's the right attitude. Now is all there is. That's the right attitude. So what if you're not in the now? How do you know you're not in the now? I think everybody's still here, I think. Or a number of people are still here, but I'd like some questions or comments or. When I ask for a raise and I don't receive one, do I focus on something different? Ooh, great question, Mary. God says there are a lot of reasons why people don't get raises when they ask for one. So there are 3 main reasons. 1, it's not in the budget. 2, they don't know your value. 3, they don't care. Those are the 3 main reasons people don't get raises when they ask for one. So let's focus on the second one. That's the one you can really control. You've got control over. The control of understanding your value in a way that deserves a raise has to do with how long it has been since you've had a raise and where have you improved your work in order to deserve one. What have you done that deserves a raise? Now, some people can go through their whole year and itemize the things that they have done that determines their value to the company they're in or their manager, what they bring to the table. They bring to the table. Some people, it's just not that clear because it's an hourly job, for example, and that hourly position has a a specific cap on it. It it can only you can only earn $3 to $5 over minimum wage, for example. There's usually some kind of salary cap. And if you can't determine for them what you've done to earn a higher position on that salary, they are just not going to give based on your need. Ultimately, they don't care. They don't care enough. They can replace you. If you're replaceable and you want a raise and you insist that you deserve one, it's very possible they will replace you with someone new who comes on and isn't going to ask for a raise or more money. So you have to demonstrate in some way or another why you are better than someone they would bring on that would work for less. It's your experience. It is your devotion. It is your education, or it is the experience that you've had that you have invested in the company has benefited from that experience. But Mary, what we would say to you is you need to work on your side hustle and just let the job keep your living so that you've got a roof over your head, shoes on your feet, and food on the table. But you put your energy and focus in something that's going to earn you side money, extra money. And in your case, we think you might do well to earn extra money writing. You're a natural writer. So you're going to have to educate yourself on how do people make money writing? What kinds of jobs or freelance gigs are available to writers? And you might offer your services either free or very cheap just to start building your portfolio of writing and to improve your writing skills. Maybe go to places that they need volunteers. And then in that volunteer work, you're doing some writing and keep that writing polished. Keep it polished. Okay, next question. Joe, manifestation keeps coming up for me lately. Best way to move forward with this? Joe, in what way do you mean manifestation as a theme? What are you attempting? And you don't have to be specific if you don't want to, but just be clear generally. What are you attempting to manifest that the topic of manifestation is coming to you frequently? I'll give you a chance to answer that. Hi, S. Whoever S is, can you talk more about the war that was mentioned at the very beginning? Will the whole world be getting involved? And how much will the US get involved? That's a good question. All right, God says, we can only give so much detail because what we see is in the consciousness of the government bodies. We see their communications between each other. We see what they are interested in and motivated by, and we see what foundation war will elicit. Will it be ultimately beneficial for them to go into war or detrimental for them to go into war? So those are the kind of the general things that we survey. And what we're seeing is major economic impacts are causing certain superpowers to relax their borders, and in doing so, they are creating strife in areas of labor. You mean like labor competition? Right. And in labor competition, that's what would motivate war? Yes. So for example, let's say if the US uses less labor or less labor outside of its borders, right, then the economy becomes more insulated. Our economy becomes more insulated, right, and then that affects the populace in China and Mexico. No, no, that's not what we mean. It affects the GDP of other countries, the gross uh, GDP. Yeah, I forgot what GDP. This is Sondra saying I forgot what GDP stands for, and so I'm not sure I can pull it out of God's head. Doesn't matter. It's about the economy, a country's economy. If there are fewer exports, then there is a lowered uh, racial disparity between those who work at labor jobs and those who work at intellectually based jobs. That racial disparity keeps certain countries more economically. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what pictures they're throwing at me. They're showing me slavery in the Middle East. Uh, um, People are essentially treated like slaves, and in the Middle East, not only are they people treated like slaves instead of employees, they are reducing the number of people who work or can work and will need more labor. And by seeking more labor, they have to go outside of their borders. And those borders, that it's like an imperialistic pursuit. Land and labor. Land and labor. They want to bring more people into the land and labor pools. More land and more people. What about the U.S., God? So U.S. involvement won't be for quite some time. We will be watching that, but mostly the US will be on the sidelines hoping they are not impacted. Certainly, the US military is already beefing up um, the borders for protection, and as well beefing up military weaponry that's more sophisticated and protective. So the defense system is growing. And in the defense system growing, then of course it keeps a certain economic flow in the US as well. So we don't want to go into any more details because it could just as easily not happen. The war can just as easily not happen, depending on how wise the advisors are to the authorities, government authorities. Because believe us when we say the advisors of today are far more educated on the spoils of war than ever before, meaning the cost of war than ever before. What's something she also asked, what's something positive or exciting to look forward to next year? Somebody just came unmuted, so be sure to make sure you guys are muted. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Something positive or exciting to look forward to in the next year. We can't. Not that there is nothing to look forward to and nothing positive on an individual level. It's just that this year is going to be very volatile in the way that humans see their safety. So we want each of you individually to view your safety this way, that as you call up, what you call up keeps you on course, and keep this productive, this calling up productive, so that we can constantly move you into position for what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. 2023 is not going to be as devastating as 2021 and 2020 for people. However, there's going to be a tension in the air, and you've already started to feel it. That's tension. It's not clear what's going to happen either between climate change or crime in the cities or government decisions, re-election or election year. There is so much tumultuousness in the collective mind of the world, and especially in this country, that nobody's going to feel real comfortable. And anything positive is going to be offset by something negative. So maintain your faithfulness, maintain your prayerfulness, your gratitude, your connection, your contact with the now and with the condition of the self, because that is always positive, always good, always beneficial. Even in the course of something negative happening, like losing a job, losing a loved one, losing a friend, losing people's interest, all of that still has some kind of positive effect, provided you maintain what's right in front of you, right in front of you, right in front of you, right in front of you. Don't try to plan some big future, because what's right in front of you is what maintains its most potential. Most potential. All right. Mitra says, what I'm hearing is that it is up to us to change our situation. Is that correct? Even though it may not be the situation we desire. It's up to us to change our situation. In a way, that's what we mean. But in another way, we don't mean that at all, because it's not always up to you. It's up to your environment that's affecting you. What is up to you is managing your state of now and your relationship to source and the higher surrender, the higher condition. That's what you have control over. Manage what you have control over, because so much of what you don't have control over will show up. And if you manage only what you do have control over and just joyfully ignore what you don't have control over, then you will maintain the joy of the now. I can't control if the world goes into war. I can't control that. I can control how I contribute to the world around me. I can contribute is a great I am. I am. I am contributing. Okay. Joe, moving, new work, new life, manifesting, new work. Joe was wanting to know, Joe said manifesting keeps showing up for him. And I wanted to know what he meant, generally, what he meant. Okay. God says, no, we wanted to know what he meant generally, because you can manifest a whole new life for yourself and completely ignore its benefit to the world. And then it implodes. If you don't know the benefit of you to the world and how you can help in a way that manages their expectation of themselves or the life around them. So whether that's health, working in the healthcare industry, or managing mental health, spiritual health, so on and so on. If you're manifesting a life for yourself, it goes nowhere. It just bubbles up and implodes. It's like, wow, and then it implodes because nothing is feeding on it. Nothing can feed it. Nothing can be given. You can't set yourself apart. Let's say new work means a new job. If you can't set yourself apart from all the other applicants, then it's only who the hiring manager likes or is most like the hiring manager that they make that decision. So the value and benefit of whatever you are manifesting has to be consumable on a level that puts you above and beyond the choices everyone makes in determining whether they pay you, how they pay you. So what we recommend, Joe, is that you start to look at sorrow as something that is dictating how you see yourself. There are sorry voices working on you. And we think if you begin there, going to those who need to know you are sorry, you're going to build a new view of you. And from that new view of you, you're going to start all over from scratch at the very beginning. And it's painful, but it's true. We have more to talk about that, but we have to get to others as well. Aaron, important to remember that there's nothing that is not God. Gross domestic product. Thanks, why? I couldn't get that. My brain couldn't hold on to that. What was in the D, gross domestic product. Thank you. Okay, why? No, Aaron. Aaron said, important to remember that there is nothing that is not God. For some people, that is a very useful model. But most people don't know what that means to them. They know what it means to nature and how they view nature, but they don't know how that is them. If everything I see about me is also God, then God's really flawed. God makes a lot of mistakes. God's just full of a lot of wrong directions. So there has to be a different model of what you are that is God. God is that condition of you that is the higher self that is educating or maintaining this under self. So here we're building this model. So if all there is nothing that is not God, then everything that is contained in this world, and I am this world. Okay, I am this world. In between these workings, I'm calling up to the realm that is God, is still contained in me. It's contained in this realm or world. Then what I'm doing here is stimulating the condition of me that is God, or condition that is God, that is not me. Because all of this is me also, that is not God. God doesn't God doesn't really make mistakes. God never sees a wrong turn, even in nature, as a mistake. It's a learning. It's always a learning. But humans rarely see their mistakes as a learning until after they have gone through all the pain and torment of it. And then they come out of that pain and torment saying, at least it taught me this or that. If I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be here now. Understand? So there has to be some condition of you in the lower regions of you that are affected by the conditions of the world that mess you up and send you into wrong directions. That's the part of you that is calling up the higher part of you that is completely connected to God. And God is then making this receiver more stimulated by this higher condition and realm. Right. That was cool, actually, Aaron. Thanks for triggering that message. Um, and those who have finished the game, transcended yet persist on earth in and beyond the void, learn to live with or move past the boredom and world weariness. No, unfortunately, not until you can establish purpose. Because without purpose, life is useless. It's just a useless game. And it has no meaning. At least when you're young, even when you see how meaningless it all is, at least when you're young, you've got the whole world ahead of you to learn, adapt, grow. You can set a goal, and on that goal, you're working. But then about age 40, that could all just disappear, everything you worked really hard for. And then you see how temporal that is, all that you create. It's so temporal. So you have to find some purpose in which you are functioning for a whole. a greater. For parents, sometimes they invest all of that into their children. So in order for once their children grow up and leave the house, in order for them to maintain that sense of worthiness and worth, they got to hope for grandchildren. What a mindless struggle that would be for a child that they had that doesn't want to reproduce. Well, then what? And grandchildren are not going to provide a sense of purpose, just a sense of joy, hopefully. Um, but then those grandchildren grow up, and then that cuteness of their youngness disappears. And then they wind up with all the similar problems that your children have. And then you blame yourself for what your grandchild is going through because of what you didn't give to your child. So it's a constant recycle. One as an individual must experience in a sense of purpose, giving of self, giving to. You don't have to give away all of your money. That won't satisfy a sense of purpose unless you're watching your money invested in things that are really important to you once you're dead. At least this will be a living testament that I lived. That's at least fulfilling the mind of that. Even if it's a meaningless pursuit, there is an effort you're making to that investment that carries on, that gives you a sense of self-importance. But purpose is really important. So we recommend volunteering or reaching out to friends, helping people. There are so many people who need someone to demonstrate that they care in some way, whether it's retirement homes, um, orphanages, foster homes, in some way contribute in this world, or your mind will say, hey, there is no reason for you to be here. You need to just step off and let other people live. Purpose is about serving, not your own interest, serving something that demonstrates your investment lives beyond you. Let it live beyond you. And if you don't have the health that lets you do that, or money that lets you do that, and you just have to keep working until you die, well, then your purpose has to be in an everyday way. Every day, every moment is an opportunity to serve a purpose in someone's life beyond you. Something beyond you. Okay. Ah, la la la. Gary, how do we overcome obstacles that are positive to us in this environment? Overcome obstacles that are positive to us. Oh, positive to us in this environment. I'm not sure I understand your question, Gary. Oh, wait, God just said, I do. I understand what he's getting at. Everyday obstacles, meaning things that seem complex or complicated to you, are easy to someone else. Someone has the information that is necessary to overcome whatever obstacle is in front of you. And we just want to leave it at that. Look for the experts that know that obstacle, have been through what you're trying to get through. And as we said earlier, the joy of Google in this time and era, way beyond any other time in written history, you have the opportunity to figure out anything and everything at your fingertips. If your obstacles are um, personal, meaning you're scared to reach out, you're scared to confront or to be in front of people, that's usually a fear of performance or a performance anxiety. That also has someone who's been through that, who can teach you how to manage performance anxiety. Self-esteem is the answer to performance anxiety. Self-esteem says, I don't care what they think of me. I know God loves me and thinks I'm amazing. And I'm going to demonstrate that condition in me, whether they know me or want to like me or not. Because that's me. And that's the God in me that's demonstrating that me. God, come on, we got it. I'm so scared right now. I'm so scared to get through this right now. I don't know what they're going to say about me, what they're going to do. I don't know anything. I don't care what they say or what they do. I made you. I made you. Don't you think I'm perfect? Yeah, of course I think you're perfect. Then if I'm perfect and I made you, that means you're perfect too. Okay, Gary? Shelford, sorry I'm late. Uh, didn't know how to access this page correctly. I'm sorry that did not show up as obvious to you, Shelford. I sure hope that isn't true for a bunch of other people that tried to get on. I'm just learning this new way of bringing people in because YouTube can be so complicated to go live on and to get people, to invite people to. So this is why I'm using this tool. All right. Shelford, but we did want to address you because you had asked a question earlier yesterday that we wanted you to show up because we wanted to answer you on something. God says you have 4 very important ceremonies that need to take place for you to feel like, okay, I'm complete. There are 4 different ceremonies. And please understand this isn't true for everyone. This is a very specific thing for Shelford. Ceremony 1, shamanic. You need to find a shaman that, not just any hack out there either. If you can find a Native American shaman, all the better. Not Native American, pardon me, a native shaman. I just remembered Shelford is in yeah, it's not in the United States. Okay, so a native shaman needs to clear out using some kind of smoke ceremony, needs to clear out of your aura all the muck that shows up because of your fears. You're a very powerful spiritual being, which means that the matrices that make one a powerful spiritual being are fibers, and those fibers collect the sensations that come, and this is true for everyone who is spiritual being, highly advanced spiritual being, that whatever comes off of your heart, it's vibrating off of your heart. So all of that thinking and talking to yourself is actually creating and manifesting within those matrices words, because it's magic. But it can be very dark and cruel self-reflection if that isn't maintained and cleaned regularly. Okay, so you need someone to use smoke to clear out all these fibers in your soul's self-awareness. There's a self-awareness, but there's also a world awareness between you and the edges of your soul that need clearing out regularly. Number two, the second ceremony is one of prayer. After you've cleaned it up, then the prayer has to fill the void this created. That void, it needs to be filled up with certain mantras, prayerful mantras. So here's an example of a prayerful mantra, but we think you could probably devise them yourself, but they have to be very powerful to you. So here's an example of a prayerful mantra. Dear God, every joy I experience, you are there. Every piece of gratitude I feel is for what you've given me. Everything I feel given is because you show me how I am a gift. Every gift I am given from others is a reflection of the gift you give to me. That mantra will fill that void with so much light. You will barely be able to stand yourself. You're so bright. Number three ceremony will be after that one. That ceremony is one of family and friends. And family and friends need to know where you're going whenever you leave their company. So that ceremony is about communication and reassurance. Communication and reassurance. You are reassuring everyone you love you are coming back. And in the process of that, you're training yourself to remember why. And number four, and this ceremony is very important, but it cannot occur without these being in place. If it does, it will just bounce right out of you onto someone else, and you'll see people around you being blessed while you're being cursed by their constant blessing. Why can't I have that? Well, you could if you'd have done these first. So here's that one. That ceremony is all about giving. And giving isn't something that you take of yours and you hand to someone else and now you don't have it. So it can't be money and it can't be things, right? It's got to be a giving of that what you are that is always replenishing. And this is where your spiritual magic, and a lot of people on this call spiritual magic, lives. It lives within the giving that constantly replenishes itself because it is full of a fountain of joy. And that fountain of joy always comes back to one thing. Does anyone want to throw it out there? One thing that creates a fountain? Is everybody still listening? Is everybody still there? Love, Erin says. Da, da, da. Comedy. No, Gary. That's hilarious. Uh, comedy. Comedy is a fountain that keeps giving. I love that. Life, Kate says. No, it's gratitude. Gratitude for all that you are thankful for is a gift that keeps on giving to you. And provided you keep giving to you that state of gratitude, thank you, God, for this. Thank you, God, for that. And it's simple. Thank you for the shoes in my closet. Thank you for the car in my garage. Thank you for these feet that can walk to a bus stop. I could be crippled. All the gratitude that you call upon of all the little things that you have that others may not have immediately changes your mood and becomes a blessing to others. Because that blessing to others of your gratitude, even for them. Thank you for telling me that. You know, that, thank you for your temper tantrum because now I see what upsets you. Something simple like that. Every time you are saying thank you to God, to others, to yourself, you are reinvigorating that fountain of blessing. Okay? Now remember, Shelford, you should, I'm not sure if you know how to set up a session with me. And when you're ready for that, I'm certainly available. Wait, God's telling me to tell you guys something. Right now, each and every one of you, even if you don't get my program, which the Accelerated Self, or God's program, the Accelerated Self, I am still offering the mastery student price of $150 for the hour instead of returning client price of $190 an hour. Okay, so FYI. Gary, you are awesome. Kate Hinton, oh. All right, I love that when you guys can talk to each other too. All right, S asks, is tithing still relevant in our day and age? How should we practice tithing and charity today? There was a time, God says, there was a time when tithing was directly connected to charity. Churches, especially Christian churches, were very involved in community and helping the poor. And so tithing was a way of ensuring that the poor are taken care of by the church. But it wasn't long before all that tithing turned into wealth for the church, and power and greed became part of the urgency for tithing. In today's world, though, tithing is never necessary to God. Tithing is necessary to the church to maintain the roof of the church. It is not necessary to God. What is necessary to God is what you do for others. Not so that it hurts you, but so it loves you. What you do for them loves you. You watch people eat the food you made. What does that do for you? It makes you feel love for what you have served. Makes you feel love for what you have made. When people say thank you to you, I don't know what I would do without you. Provided they're not constantly sucking you dry, but your giving isn't done out of guilt. They're guilting you out of that giving, provided you are giving in a way that is building in someone their ability to need you less and can help others more. Then you're creating and a recreating manner, which is what the original tithing was to do. You give so the church can give. And that's how it's replicated in the world. Give so that others can give. And we'll do these steps, Shelford. Very good. Good. Please do. Mary, God and I say good morning to each other. Mary is a student who is becoming more and more a Godscribe. And it's fascinating to watch others Godscribe. I would like to do a book just of those who have either learned to Godscribe because of my work or have been inspired to do more of it because of my work. It would be great to have a book of different Godscribes, Godscribing. Uh, Mary, the next step is you and God talking all day long so that God guides you all day long. Step, 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 step. Okay? Keep working toward that. That is the goal. All day long, communication with God all day long. I get thoughts of a POP, people over profits, principles, teaching, spirituality, responsible ways of business, also teaching. Are these ideas from God? When I write, is it similar to how you write? God says you are working in the inspiration space more so than the dictation space. So inspiration is more creative, artistic, but there's another level where you are literally taking dictation. And when you start taking dictation, you know it's from God. There is no question at all. No question at all. So to move from inspiration to dictation is all about intent. And so we recommend you going to your journal with the question and then let God write the answer. And that's how you are best identifying that condition of the God scribing, God scribing, God scrying, God scribing. Okay, that's beautiful. I wanted to read that quietly to myself because I could tell it was something inspirational, but now I'll read it out loud. Kate says, "Good morning, sun and earth and sky, trees and leaves, air and oxygen, water, life, peace and harmony. Good morning." That is a beautiful opening of the day, isn't it? Goody. I feel it's time for me to go back to some kind of work activity with children. What shape and form would that be? God says, children are waiting for you to be a storyteller. So, what we think you should begin with to just get you back into is to library, is to librarianize your childhood stories. Librarianize? What do you mean by librarianize? Well, what's a librarian? I'm not sure I can define that. Let me write that. Let me find out. And thanks you all for hanging out. Librarian meaning is a person typically with a degree in library science who administers or assists in a library. So I librarianize the stories, assists in a library. So with children, would that mean that she would uh, tell them stories? I'm sorry, this is a little bit complicated. I wasn't really fully prepared to read other people today. I didn't open myself for others. The source you hear from me in Source Talks is my source. When I do sessions with people, it is their source. So I peer into a soul in order to read that source. So it's a little bit complicated for me when I come in unprepared, and especially in this way where um, uh, people are in other locations that I'm not uh, prepared to enter into. I knew Shelford was coming, and he had asked a question, so I was prepared for him. But everyone else, I'm not really fully prepared for actual readings. But what I'm getting from what I'm getting from your source, Goody, has to do with um, the a library of stories, children's stories, and you being a part of the the stories, the children's stories. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit. My migraine's about to show up again, trying to penetrate the barrier or boundary into these sessions. So I better cut that off. It's okay, Sondra. I get it. Good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Mary. Well, I better save myself here and end our session today. And I just want to thank you all for joining me. I was super excited, nervous, but super excited. And I'm grateful you all came. And I can't wait to tell you about the next one. I can't wait for the next one to come. All right. Thanks again. Goodbye, you all. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I will be sending out the recording to everyone. Yes, Joe. Okay. Bye, Goody. Thank you, Goody. Okay, bye. Bye, Kate. Bye, Joe. Bye, Mary. Bye, Shelford. Bye, Aaron. Bye, S. You are so welcome, everybody. So welcome. Bye, D-Essence. Bye, Gary. Bye, Barbara. Bye, Suzanne. Bye, everybody.